Season's greetings, gastronauts. This is KeefCooks. I am Keef, and it's Christmas. And what you have to do at Christmas is have a big Christmas dinner. Well, I've done those, but this year nobody's got any money, especially me. So we are going to do a budget Christmas dinner. Oh yes, we are, and this is it. Wonderful. So the price of food in the UK has been going up and up and up and up all year for various reasons, which I will not go into. But also this year we've got the added thing of avian flu, which means that there'll be a shortage of poultry. Industrial freezers are stuffed to the gunnels with frozen turkeys and things. So, you know, it shouldn't be too much of a problem, but the prices are a lot higher than they were last year. And quite rightly, people are worried about how they can feed a whole family and possibly a whole bunch of relatives on next to no money. And added to that, the energy cost of cooking, you know, a gigantic turkey in the oven for hours and hours and hours. Not a chance. Not happening, mate. Not happening. So I've set myself a target to try and figure out how to get the cost down to like below £4 a head. And actually I saw an advert yesterday from Sainsbury's, fairly posh supermarket, offering £4 a head bunch of items. So that's quite a thing from them. And obviously the main expense is the turkey. Now you have to think about what makes a Christmas dinner for you. For me, the turkey isn't critical. You know, any big chunk of meatiness will do for me. But in the UK, the turkey has become prevalent. You know, they're bred to have tons of meat on them and to be really cheap. But I'd be just as happy with a good chunk of beef or pork or a turkey breast roll with stuffing and bacon. We'll go into that later. Also critical for me are pigs in blankets, chipolata sausages wrapped in bacon, which is great because it's more meat, it's cheaper meat to supplement the turkey or whatever. Also what I like, roast potatoes, and then assorted vegetables. I'm quite happy never to eat another Brussels sprout again. Parsnips I like. Mrs. KeefCooks, if there were no sprouts and if there were no parsnips, she'd leave me. So we have to have those. One of the key things with budget shopping is to shop around. So I've looked at Lidl, Aldi and Tesco because those are close to me. Tesco these days quite often does Aldi price matching. Some of these items were advertised as being the same price as in Aldi, like the bacon, £1.25. And if you're lucky enough to be able to get to a bunch of supermarkets easily, do so because you will, you know, you save 50p here, £1 there, whatever. Turkey breast joint, £5.29, and that came from Aldi. It was the last one they had, but I'm pretty sure they'll have restocked by the time you see this. And this happens to be wrapped in bacon and it's got sage and onion stuffing in it. It's 800 grams. They say it serves 5, so that's pretty good. Here's the shopping list for the budget Christmas dinner. And you see what I've done here, I've put the overall price that I actually paid for each item. And this column is the price for 4 portions. So sometimes the same as the turkey roll, we will use all of that, but many of the items will only use part of it. So we've got the turkey roll at £5.29. We've got the pigs in blankets, which I'm making myself because it is desperately easy. Bacon, the pack costs £1.25. For 4 portions, £1, actually less than that. Chipolata sausages, £1.49. Also £1 for the 4 portions. Now, the vegetables, I've noticed in previous years that supermarkets reduce the price in the run-up to Christmas, and they haven't done yet, but actually in the papers yesterday, it was announced that Lidl, Aldi and Sainsbury's will be reducing the price of these items to 19 pence per pack, which is just insane. They are not making any money on that, but they're promising that the farmers still get paid their normal amount. So brilliant. However, that only kicks in about a week before Christmas, so I've had to pay top whack. So my parsnips were 49p for the pack. My carrots were 24p, which is very good, actually. Sprouts were 89p, which is kind of higher than previous years. Red cabbage, 61p. Spuds, 149 for 2.5 kilos, but I'm only using, well, less than a third of that, actually. Stuffing, I'm using the whole box, 43p. Gravy at 165, I'm using 33 pence worth. And cranberry sauce, 55p for a jar, 3 or 4 teaspoons, 30p. And the grand total... The overall spend, 14.38. The actual amount used, £10 and 7p. And then divide those by 4, 360 a head. And then for the actual, what we used, £2.51. It seems pretty accurate, but it's still an approximation. I haven't included salt, pepper, butter, oil, and so on. Given that all of these vegetable prices are coming down, we're still on a winner. We're still well under, actually, £2.50 a head, which I think is brilliant. All right, now, there is one sneaky thing. I got this stuffing mix from Aldi, and I didn't intend to. I was looking for cheap stuffing. And they had that, sage and onion, at 43 pence for a pack, and probably a larger pack than this. But they had a bunch of interesting flavours. This is cranberry, clementine, and chestnut. 125, but yeah, I reckon it's worth it. However, in my costing, I'm pretending that I've used sage and onion. So it's almost impossible to be really precise. And even if I did, that's only really precise for me, not necessarily for somebody else. And also, energy cost, I can't possibly calculate it. But what I will do is I'm going to use a steamer on the stove. So that's those 4 items, all in a stack, done on one gas flame for 10-15 minutes. And then roast potatoes and parsnips will go into the oven, except I'm using an air fryer oven, which I've just got, so I'll show you a review of that next week. The meat, the pigs in blankets and stuffing balls will also be done in that all at the same time. So energy wise, it'll be as economical as I can make it. If you don't have an air fryer, there's enough stuff here to justify putting the big oven on. I'll let you do it just this once. Okay, we need to do some prep. I'm going to peel things. I'm going to make pigs in blankets. Portion control, I'm going to do 2 per person, and this is just for me and Mrs. KeefCooks. But because I love these things so much, I'm doing 2 extra for snacking on. So chipolatas, basically they're just thin sausages. This bacon is unsmoked, streaky. You could use smoked and you could use back bacon or whatever passes for bacon where you live. I've had Americans telling me that, you know, British bacon isn't bacon. They're wrong, but you know. There you go, 1 pig in a blanket. Easy, told you it was easy. There we go, lovely pigs in blankets, and we'll just wrap those in plastic film and stick them in the fridge until we need them. I'm enjoying this sitting down lark. For roast potatoes, you've got to peel them. Roast potatoes with skin on are just an abomination, really. You know, and cut them into bite-sized chunks like that. And I normally reckon on 5 of those per person. That's actually 12, so we've got a couple of spares. And I'm just going to weigh them. Woo, 400 grams, so 200 grams a person. That's too much, really. So I'll cover those in cold water and set it aside. Cock-a-doodle-doo, you say? Yes, indeed. It's the next day. So I've done most of the prep, but I do want to talk about vegetables, the price of vegetables. In previous years, round about Christmas, just before Christmas, I've noticed that the price of carrots, sprouts and parsnips in particular, it just is reduced ridiculously in the supermarkets, like you're talking about 30p. Also this year I'm going to do some red cabbage. I've not normally done this because I don't consider it part of the Christmas dinner, not my idea of a Christmas dinner, but a lot of people do. When I've had comments on previous Christmas dinner videos where people have said, "Where's the red cabbage?" And I say, well, yeah, there isn't any. Not traditional, but apparently to some people it is. Oh, another thing while I'm teaching you how to shop, as if you don't know, and I'm not sponsored by Tesco, but if you shop at Tesco frequently, which I do, it's worth getting one of their club cards, which is a loyalty card, so they know all about you, they know what you buy and when, but sometimes you just got to sell your soul, because you do get frequently things are discounted for club card holders. So normal people would have had to pay 61p for this. I got it for 50p with my club card. And then gravy. I've got gravy granules, actual turkey flavoured, because that turkey roll isn't going to produce anything like the amount of drippings or the quality of dripping that we want. So if you're using that, you will have to use gravy granules or something. Make some stock and do it properly. Okay, I'm going to make up the stuffing because I want that to cool down a bit before we're ready to use it. So you put the whole packet into a bowl. Then you want 250ml, 1 cup of boiling water. Fold that together, make sure there's no clumps of dry mixture. And it's mostly breadcrumbs, they will swell and it won't be as wet as that. And I like to add a lump of butter. Get that melted in as well. And set that aside. Now then, sprouts. I've been reading up on how to cook them. I thought I knew, but I didn't. There's 2 critical things that I was doing wrong. I was cooking them for far too long. You shouldn't really cook them for more than 5 minutes, because if you do, then that sulphurous mushiness and horribleness develops, and that's why a lot of people hate sprouts. And the other thing is, don't cut across in the bottom. I was told or taught to do that so that, you know, the heat penetrates easier and it cooks faster. Apparently that is rubbish, and all it does is helps the sprout to get waterlogged and soggy. In order to get these cooked in 5 minutes, you need them small. So I will cut these in half. Yeah, these are fresh from the field. They're covered in mud. Pull off the outer leaves and trim the bottom bit. Actually, I'm going to give these a wash because they are a bit grubby. And pop them in cold water when you've done them. Now we want to shred a bit of red cabbage. Alright, it's 3 o'clock, I'd better start cooking. If I was doing this straight, it should take an hour and a quarter, but you know, because I'm messing about with cameras and that, it will take longer. So I'm going to do some of the veggies in the steamer. I'm going to put the spuds in the bottom. Actually, I can put their water in as well. Some salt. And I'm not bothered about these getting a little bit overcooked. You want that because for roast potatoes, it's best if the spuds are almost falling apart, actually, so you get a nice crispy finish on them. I'll do the parsnips over that, but I won't put them over until the water has started boiling, because then we know that they're not going to be overcooked, and they will need probably not more than 10 minutes. And the carrots in another tier, also for about 10 minutes. I'll cook the sprouts separately because they need to be watched very carefully. Right, on the stove with this. Now the main event, the turkey breast joint. I forgot to mention, for about the same money, or possibly less, you could get a large chicken if they taste and look similar. I mean, you know, most people can tell the difference, but when times are hard, big chicken leg would do me fine. Anyway, I've got this. So, it was frozen, and it's been defrosting in the fridge for at least 24 hours. You can cook it from frozen, it will take an extra hour, but if you've already thawed it, it only takes 1 hour. So your oven needs to be on 180 degrees Celsius for a fan oven, convection oven, or air fryer, and that's 200 for a conventional oven, and that is gas 6. Okay, and what you do with this is take off the film, and that is your preparation done. So I'll get the air fryer oven heating, and then we'll slap it in for 1 hour, and then everything goes crazy during that time. When the oven or the air fryer is up to temperature, put the turkey roll in and set the time to 25 minutes. Okay, I'm going to do the sweet and sour red cabbage. So you need a couple of tablespoons of light brown sugar, a couple of teaspoons of balsamic vinegar, and I've just noticed I've got about maybe one. So I'll supplement that with some red wine vinegar. And in fact, if you don't have balsamic at all, it is quite pricey, you can use all red wine vinegar. So put the sugar and the vinegar in the pan, heat those up, and then add the shredded red cabbage and give it a good stir. Add water if you think you need to. It's quite a dry dish, but yeah, might need water. So, and then just let that gently cook until the cabbage is tender. The water's boiling, so now we'll add the parsnips and the carrots and put the lid on the top deck. And we'll give the top two 10 minutes and the potatoes 15. Okay, so the spuds want another 5 minutes. Carrots are pretty firm, but they'll be okay when they're boiled down and glazed. And parsnips, I've overdone it. They're too soft. But again, they'll be okay. They're going to go in the oven and get roasted later on. Okay, spuds have had like 15-20 minutes really. So we'll just remove them from the water and put them in a colander and give them a right good roughing up. But I'm keeping this water to do the glazed carrots in. I've had this dish in the oven with fat in it to get that nice and hot, and then we'll tip in the tatties, get those coated. So this fat just happens to be beef dripping, but goose fat, duck fat, stuff like that is recommended. Don't panic if you don't have any, because it is pricey, like most things, and actually sunflower oil will work just as well and be more healthy. Good sprinkle of salt. They should have about 45 minutes. I think we've got time. But check on them every now and again and turn them over so they get browned all over. I'm going to put the PIBs in on the top wire shelf so they will drip down onto what's below, which will be the parsnips and the stuffing balls. I should have done this before, but it doesn't take long. Just roll them into balls. What I've done previously is made them in like a muffin tray, or stick it in a loaf tin, make it as a loaf and slice it. So we'll put the parsnips on the bottom shelf. I don't think we need to add any oil because there's plenty of fat on that bacon to lubricate them, so that'd be lovely. I know I said I'd do the carrots in the potato water, but I've changed my mind. I'm going to do the sprouts in that, and it will need topping up and some salt. And remember, they only need to cook for 5 minutes, as long as they're tender in that time. Now for the carrots, I'll put those in a little saucepan, top them up with just enough water to cover them, and then dissolve a couple of teaspoons of sugar in that. You could use honey, of course, which is more classic, but we actually haven't got any at the moment, and it's not in the budget for this meal, so there, can't have it. And what you do with glazed carrots is you just want all the liquid to evaporate, and so you need to watch it like a hawk to make sure it doesn't burn. Time's up for the meat, so let's get it out, and then we're going to stick it on this warmed plate, tent it in foil, and let it rest for 10-15 minutes while we just finish everything else off and make it perfect. There we go. Right, I'll slap that in the gravy when I make it, in fact. I'll just have a peep at all the other things in the oven. The stuffing balls and parsnips, fine, and the roasties and the pibs. Pibs, it's my new word. Pigs in blankets. Those are all superb. I am very impressed. Glazed carrots, sprats, and red cabbage. So all that remains is to make the gravy. I won't tell you how to do that. You need to read the instructions. And now it's taste test time with... Not yet.
Indoors.
Mrs. KeefCooks! She's not dead!
I can't find my Christmas earrings. I've got some fantastic Christmas earrings.
You have, haven't you?
Cannot find them. Wow.
Dinner.
This is the budget Christmas dinner.
Yeah, babe.
Wow.
Oh.
You've seen this, haven't you? That looks amazing. Right, do we have to put it away now and bring it out at Christmas?
No. Doing another one at Christmas.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Roasty.
Quite apart from it being Christmas, I just love the Christmas vegetables, parsnips and sprouts and whatnot.
They know.
Is that stuffing balls or is it sausage meat?
Yeah, stuffing balls.
Mmm.
Mmm. Mmm. Mmm. Oh, that turkey's, it's alright. It's actual turkey. And it's juicy.
Good to know.
Well, you never know, do you?
Oh, no. If you ever remember school dinners, dried out chicken or turkey sometimes. But most of
Don't be slagging off school dinners.
Well, I was going to say most of our school dinners were great, but yeah.
Oh yeah, I've had some dodgy corporate Christmas dinners. Slices of some kind of white stuff.
Oh, that is good. Living with him makes me a bit of a
Snob.
food skeptic, I will say. It's like, you know, if it's pre-packaged or it's prepared, it's probably going to be a bit boring. Oh, good.
Well, I'll tell you what, I've never felt so relaxed after cooking a Christmas dinner.
You're upright and you're not bright red.
Yeah.
This is also a good point to bear in mind. That is really good. And it is pretty, isn't it? I mean, look at that layout. Yeah. Yeah, you'll have to excuse us because this is going to take some time. Isn't it, honey? I haven't had a sprout yet.
Oh, I made them specially.
And Keith was just telling me before about these new things he's discovered about what not to do to sprouts and why.
Yeah, don't cook them.
Oh, they are nice. Uh-huh.
Al dente.
Yeah.
But they're all right. Yeah. I could eat another one.
Oh, cranberry sauce as well, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'll get to it eventually. I haven't actually touched the pigs in blankets, but I'm sure they're marvellous.
They are. Really good. So,
there's a limit to how much I can actually taste while talking to camera.
Yeah. Also, so I've just done the main because we really never have like a starter, do we? Because you've been nibbling stuff all morning.
And we never have room for Christmas pudding.
We always have a Christmas pudding.
But it always gets eaten the next day or the day after that, and we've kind of recovered. Oh, yeah.
So, this is from Aldi, 89p. And that will actually do both of us, won't it?
It will. Even me. I like Christmas pudding.
I did get a bigger one to test a few weeks ago.
Oh yeah, he did it because to model the T-shirt.
Oh yeah.
Okay, this was drawn from life, yeah. And the Christmas pudding was just so good, and I said, "Oh, I'll get one of those again." And what was it? Aldi. Was it Holly Lane 6-month matured Christmas pudding? That one that we had wasn't 6-month matured, was it?
I think it was only 4 months.
It was ever
But they do, you know, different lengths of time.
And we ate it with custard.
Yeah. instant custard, and it was brilliant.
You get everything on this food channel, don't you?
Except food. Anyway, that's magnificent. I'm very impressed by that.
Yeah.
£2.51.
Hey.
Oh,
Wow.
yeah.
That's really impressive.
Plus the chef's wages, 150 quid. So, right, that's your Christmas dinner sorted out. Innit?
Yeah.
Something like that. Okay. Thanks for watching. Merry Christmas.
Oh yeah.
And see you next time. See you next time. Stop it. Synchronise.
You know I don't synchronise. It's supposed to be spontaneous. A little bit of spontaneity does you good. Keep chewing.
Festive ale.
Cool.
Okay. Right. Happy
There's a reason why I don't come on this anymore.
I'm just overwhelmed
It takes longer
by
to get
your
out.
presence.
It takes longer to get out at the end than it does to cook the entire meal, doesn't it, darling?
And see you next time.